All right, Amanda, let's chat about liquid delegation marketplace.
I feel like Derek would be so much better at this.
Yeah?
But I was actually just in the middle of having a conversation with somebody in our Proof Discord about whether or not we'll be able to use that. And I feel like, why not? Like, if it's possible, I think we should unlock that access for folks for this liquid delegate.
For those that are new to this.
I have a tweet up. I sent it out this morning that we can pull up real quick. I have CT's manning the rig back there. But the idea is Liquid Delegate is essentially a marketplace for property rights associated with your digital objects. And so first week of law school, so this is like 15 years ago for me, the thing that you learn is that like your ownership over an object has specific rights associated with it. You have the right to sell it. You have the right to not sell it. You have the right to let other people see it. You have the right to lend it out. When I talk about this technology, when I talk about like trust minimized ledgers and digital objects,
bingo.
Trust
minimized ledger guy.
No, but the way I explain it is once you can prove scarcity for a digital object, you can start building property rights on top of it. For the first time, that's never been possible before. We've had it in the physical world, never had it in the digital world. Products like this, which allow you to start parsing out those rights associated with the digital object, having the market price them, having the market buy them, bid them, use them in different ways, extinguish them, consume them. This is what I mean when we actually have digital property rights for the first time. And so I'm like a huge fan of efforts like this that push the space forward to more granularly associating rights with the stuff that we own.
So just to get into like the real nitty gritty of what this is for people that don't know, correct me if I'm wrong here. What you're saying is that you go out and you buy an NFT.
Yes.
Let's call it a proof collective pass or any of these passes that have something extra associated with them. Maybe it's the right to attend an event.
Yes.
Maybe it's an ape with the right to attend Ape Fest or any of these things. And you're saying, you know what? I'm not going to go to that thing. I'm not going to do that thing. I still want to own the asset.
You got it.
But I want to give the rights to the benefits that might be physical, might be redemption based, to someone else.
It could be a gaming right. It could be an airdrop. It could be a live event. It could be a t-shirt. It could be a sweater. The point is you, Kevin, still want exposure to the underlying.
Hold it.
You're a Proof Collective member.
Right.
You want access to the Discord. You want, to be able to buy and bid the art that Eli's curating and so on and so forth.
But this one thing might not be for me.
But this one thing might not be for you. Now, what if you could disaggregate that one thing and allow the market to price it and consume it? Right, that is what this registry is essentially.
And that unlocks an additional value for the holder because they're like, hey, I wasn't going to use this anyway, but now I may pick up a quarter of an ETH for this one thing.
That's exactly right.
Is really scary.
It reminds me, it's kind of a peak bull market story, but a friend of mine named Sen_ETH, very, just a good friend of mine in the space. And I went to Ape Fest and he didn't have an ape. And he bought an ape. He bought a mutant ape in front of the guy, so he could get in. And it was kind of this legendary story that got retweeted multiple times. But like, think about how dumb that is. You want to go to events, so you're buying a $27,000 asset at the time and taking that. I mean, just completely ridiculous. But then there's also this, I think, very justified frustration of people who live overseas or who aren't local to a community and are saying, I'm not even getting the benefits of being part of this community. And here, at least now they can disaggregate that from being in the community. And so it feels like it's kind of like a win-win all around.
It's an evolution into what is kind of already happening, but is inefficient, right? So this is basically just programmatically making these behaviors much more efficient, trustless, on-chain, and also allowing the market to price these things. We know when you put an object on-chain in a global marketplace that runs 24/7, it's run the bingo card up, that like market discovery can happen around that object. This is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I was thinking like maybe people would do this if they want to be part of the collective, but want to sell off a grail, their access to grails. But then I was thinking maybe you'd just mint the grail and sell it then. It's not the best example, but yeah.
I wonder if this ever, like in the future, this ever makes it all the way to display rights, meaning like, okay, you're in your home. Let's picture a decade out. I've got 7 digital displays. I'm having a party. I want to go and show a bunch of crazy X copies that I don't own. Can I go out to holders, put a 24-hour bid on display rights, and then have those show up as authentic NFTs in my house?
Like you could right click and save it, or you could actually have the object.
No.
Where you're going with this is something that I've thought about for years. I've been drafting a paper about this called object-based licensing. And to me, this is actually where we're going. It's like this legal layer where we're trying to license these things. And like, it's not totally apparent to like, these arrangements that people are in for commercial economic activity when they license things to one another. We're going to a completely different place where we have like these digital ledgers where everything is trustless. And that ability to provably license something from somebody on chain without having a legal layer associated to me, it's so obvious.
It's also kind of it's. I know that you can right click save. It's not lost.
But that's not. But there's something that's not the same about actually licensing it from somebody.
The display shows because Dambus does this where if you own the NFT, it has a different color of the D underneath it. So
you're blowing up my future articles right now, but I have a whole thing I'm writing about this.
So you can imagine like there's this great shot that I love, which is Jordan shooting with a cigar in his mouth. Do you know that shot?
I don't know.
He's got like a cigar in his mouth and he's like shooting the ball. And it's so iconic. And if that was an NFT and I'm like, I'm going to have a like epic party, I license it directly from Jordan for that day because everyone else is trying to license it all throughout the year.
Totally.
Like that's just like such a cool flex.
100%. This is why when I first met Fubar a year and a half ago, I got so excited because this type of technology, when you start granularly associating these subdivision of rights associated with an object, we're hurtling very quickly towards this world. And it cuts out so much inefficiency and fat from the legal layer system and does it in a programmatic way on chain. So I very much view a world where that's going to happen.
Cool.
Where do you think this pragmatically starts? Like once the marketplace launches, what do you think are the first types of things we start seeing being traded there?
I think it's going to be things like airdrop rights. So like, an airdrop is coming and you've got, the right to claim it in a week and you sell that right. Or it could be like a t-shirt or a live event. I think it's going to be like more fun, kind of like low value things to start.
Yeah.
I do think that as people start becoming aware of this design space, we're going to see much richer, much more complicated expressions of like granularly assigning these rights to people.
And from a tech perspective, is it so like let's say Proof wanted to allow collective holders ahead of Grails to sell the right to a Grail or something like that. Would that be on the Proof engineering team to work with Fubar's team, or so does this require both participants, the buyers and sellers?
I think it will be it depends on the experience. So like obviously chat with Fubar, and like there will be experiences where people can do stuff out of the box, and then there will be much more complex, richer experiences which may require like some engineering associated with it just to configure the drop in the correct way to get like more benefits out of this. The last thing I'll say is what's cool about it is like as this thing gets priced in the market and bought and resold, like this access right or whatever it may be, fees can actually go back to the project. So like he's built this in so that there's upside for projects to build on top of this registry.
Brilliant.
It's really clever.
Because why would you'd be like, is someone that airdrops, Grails passes to a bunch of people, I'm like, why would I take the time? But if like
fees are going back to Proof
then
in
it
this
makes sense
example,
to do it this way.
100%.
Yeah.
So this is very much a public good for the space and a product that I'm very excited about. And it's really an engineering feat that Fubar and his team were able to build something like this.
Yeah, I love this idea. I think it will probably, if it goes well and if it takes off, I think it will probably affect the way that NFTs and, utility or access or whatever is done. I think I've been sort of pushing for claimable access to things and not necessarily just airdrops, just because you want to be able to really engage with the people who are there, right?
Yes.
And so if now maybe in the future more and more teams avoid the airdrops because they know that there is a way for you to kind of parse that out, I think that might kind of change things too, and really sort of change what it means to own an asset and what kind of value you can get from that, right? Like here's an actual opportunity to bring value back to the holder is my least favorite phrase in the world.
Utility, baby.
I love it.